the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Anna Little, host today with my co-host Sharon Engel. Rick Trader's got the day off, and John Forsyth is on the boards. We are coming to you live from the WNJC 1360 Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios. 1360 is in Philadelphia, and we are also around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting and TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Sharon Engel, it's always an honor and a privilege to serve with you on this show. Welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio.
Thanks, Anna. We're going to have a fabulous Friday. We did last week, and I think we're going to do it again next week. It's beginning to be a real fun time for each of us to be here on Conservative Commandos together, just the two of us ladies. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important for conservative women to get our voices out there. You know, it seems like the left thinks they own women's issues, and they think those women's issues are only limited to whatever's gender specific, which we know, you and I know, is certainly not true. And I think that we have this opportunity with Conservative Commandos to really show what being a conservative woman is all about. And I'm hoping that there are ladies out there listening who identify with that, and perhaps they'll speak out on their own. I like that aspect of encouraging folks to stand up and have a voice.
Oh, that's right. And, you know, I'm glad you mentioned women's issues, because the left, I think, has finally gone too far with their desire to show the right as the people who have the war on women. It's actually the left. And this Maloney Amendment, which is an amendment that Congressman Maloney brought before the House a couple of weeks ago now, which said that you cannot contract out with anyone who doesn't make sure that they have LGBT restrooms available. And what that means is, of course, if you feel like your choice today is to be a woman, then you can go in the ladies' room even though you're a biological man. And that's gone so far as to Alaska. This was just amazing to me, that a boy who felt like a girl won the track prizes there. Not as just as a girl, but of course we know that was totally unfair to all the girls that competed. So it's just amazing how far back the left now has set the women's movement. You know, that movement that I know I embraced it in the 60s. I had a mother-in-law who was being discriminated against at her job because she was a woman and passed over by men. And we fought pretty hard, but I feel like we've gotten equality here. I was, of course, all for women's vote, and I like it that women can run for office, of course. But this has gone too far now, Anna, and they really, one fellow wrote, he said, this is the war on little girls. And I think he's right here, because what they've done is they've opened up an area which was private and in most respects secure for little girls and women, and now made us very vulnerable.
I agree with you, Sharon, and I think when it comes to the sports, I mean, you mentioned the track awards. I mean, look, we have to look at physiology, and no matter how someone self-identifies, I mean, we can certainly debate whether a person can self-identify before they've reached the age of majority to begin with, but, a person who's self-identifying in sports and physical activities, they need to be measured by what their physical ability is, and it isn't fair to those who are born women who have the physiology of a woman to compete with someone that has the physiology of a man. So that, to me, is kind of a no-brainer there. And so when you spoke about those track awards, I think that's just patently unfair to women. We talk about whether or not to modify physical requirements when we're setting up competition between men and women, because while women have a lot of strength in our lower body, men have a lot of upper body strength. I mean, there are just differences physically in the makeup of our bodies, and we have to acknowledge that. And, there will be times when a woman may be stronger than a man, but it may not be in the same way. So you have to figure out how to measure that. And I just think, when we're talking about children, the other issue involved in this, Sharon, is we're talking about children here, and we're talking about whether a child self-identifies. I mean, I don't think my children were able to make decisions for themselves until at least they reached the age of majority. Maybe they've done some decision-making with my input prior to that. And I think even now, I mean, I've got young adults, I don't think some of them have their head on straight now, and you want them to choose what gender they think they are? I mean, this is just not fair to the kids in general.
Well, and I think that is pretty much decided for you. I don't. I think we are created beings, and our Creator knows what's best for us. I'll just put it that way. We have to go into a break right now, Anna. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC, 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM FM 24/7. Those are all .com. Anna Little and Sharon Angle will be right back with you after this short break, and we'll talk about all our guests that we're going to have on this show today.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to any. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Or at 1 p.m., roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Well, Sharon Angle, you are 4 days out from your election. Can you talk about it briefly before we get into our guests?
Sure. It's always kind of exciting right toward the end, isn't it, Anna? You wonder if you've done everything you can do. Have you talked to everyone you can talk to? You have 4 days left. But in so many ways, because of early voting, many of the voters have already voted. So you can get that list, of course, and know who's voted and who hasn't voted. But by and large, it's like baking a cake, isn't it, Anna? You put everything in the recipe that you know that makes it good. It smells great in the oven, but you don't really know how the cake is until you actually take the first bite. So that's the way with elections. You don't know how it's going to turn out until the vote is actually cast and they've counted them. So that's the best you can do with an election. I know polling places, they'll give you a margin of error of about 3%, but boy, that can go both ways, can it? We've watched elections go sideways before, where you were winning and then all of a sudden you're losing, or you thought it was going to be close and you won by a landslide. So it's just, there's no telling until the actual balloting is cast. But we're feeling very encouraged. We own the airwaves here in Nevada. It seems like we're the only ones really in this race that have commercial time on the television, radio. We're up on Facebook. We've had quite an interesting dialogue going on Facebook over the Maloney Amendment and also over universal background checks, both of which my opponent supports. And so there's quite a lot of difference between the two of us.
What's that Maloney Amendment?
The Maloney Amendment is the one that allows transgenders to, well, what it really allows is a man's choice to take priority over a woman's right to privacy is what it really does. But they're calling it the transgender bathroom bill is what they're calling it. And it just solidifies or codifies the executive order that Barack Obama made a few weeks ago when he said that anyone who was not being conciliatory or at least allowing these folks to use whatever bathroom they identified with that day was shouldn't be able to have money from the government through contracts. Their contracts should be relinquished. And so that's what's happening is Maloney brought that forward to the Congress, and the congressman that I'm running against voted for the amendment, and then he also voted for the bill with the amendment on it. So it was to reinforce that LGBT bathroom situation.
Okay. And then on the background checks, that has to do with the Second Amendment, right? Correct?
Absolutely. You know, we who are legal, lawful, abiding citizens understand that our Second Amendment right is there to help us defend and protect our families, and it's just part of the Constitution that really guarantees the rest of our civil liberties. And when gun control laws are put in place, they generally make it more difficult for law-abiding people to have that right to protect and defend themselves. It has very little influence over the criminal mind, or those that are, in some cases, insane. They don't go out and say, I'm going to get my CCW, I'm going to go through all these background checks and make sure that I don't get a gun. That's not their mentality. And so what we actually do is infringe upon the Second Amendment right when we require these universal background checks to even give a gift or to loan a gun to a family member. And that's really what these background checks are all about, is they have really gotten very onerous upon families and upon gun owners.
Yep. Well, it sounds like you're on top of these issues, and that's why we need Sharon Angle in the U.S. Senate. But we do have to go through our guests, too, because we have a show to do today. So why don't you start that off, since you'll be interviewing our very first guest?
Yes, I will. Our very first guest today is, I think we've got an interesting show, don't you? And I'm excited about the show, and we are always excited to have these wonderful guests on with us every day. It's a perfect day on Conservative Commando's radio show, and our first guest is Gabby Marangello, and she's a political reporter with the Washington Examiner. She previously worked as a reporter for the Campus Reform, and she's going to be talking to us about Trump's vice presidential search, and it seems he has it down to 4 or 5 possibilities. So that will be fun for us to talk with Gabby and find out who Donald Trump's thinking about. Will it be someone that we would prefer, or does he have choices that we've not even thought of yet? So that's what we're going to be talking to Gabby about.
Yeah, and our second guest is going to be John Zmirak. He's a graduate of Yale University who got his Ph.D. in English from Louisiana State University, and he worked as a press secretary to Louisiana Governor Mike Foster. He's also been an alternate delegate to the RNC, the convention, and he's written or co-written 7 different books, the most recent of which is The Race to Save Our Century. He's a senior editor of TheStream.org, and he's going to talk to us today about Donald Trump and this issue with Judge Curiel and the connection between this judge and La Raza. La Raza is very scary, people, and I don't think this judge is getting enough attention for his affiliation with that group. And Donald Trump obviously gets caught up talking about his legal battle before this judge, but really we ought to be looking at this judge's affiliation with La Raza, which is the foundation for Trump feeling he's been treated unfairly. So it's going to be very important to have this conversation on Conservative Commandos, where we can speak freely with John Zmirak, and he's going to talk to us about an article. I think it's been written by Denise Schick, but he knows all about it. And then our third guest is going to be Daniel Greenfield. He's a blogger and a columnist and a Shillman Journalism Fellow at the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and his biweekly column appears at Front Page Magazine. His blog articles are regularly located at Family Security Matters, The Jewish Press, Times of Israel, Act for America, and Right Side News, as well as daily at the Canada Free Press and a number of other outlets. And his op-eds have also appeared in the New York Sun, The Jewish Press, and at Fox Nation. And he's named one of the Jewish press's most worthwhile blogs from 2006 to 2011. And his writing has been cited by Rush Limbaugh and Melanie Phillips and Robert Spencer and Daniel Pipes. We're very proud to have Daniel Greenfield on our show today, and he's going to talk to us again about Donald Trump and Democratic political incorrectness. If the Democrats are truly outraged by Trump, they might want to try looking in a mirror. And this is an article that he's actually written himself. So that's our show.
What a lineup it is. And I think, in the just the effort for full disclosure here, I want to talk a little bit about what you do, Anna, because I know when we start talking about La Raza and what Donald Trump has said about this judge, you don't come from a purely ignorant background at all on this. You deal with it almost on a daily basis, what's going on in the Hispanic community, not just in New Jersey, but across this nation. And you are truly one of the people who has a compassionate heart when it comes to the predicament that people have found themselves in, and especially some of the 11 million that people talk about who are here illegally. So this is not an uninformed position, and I'm so glad that you're going to get an opportunity to really talk about this issue, because I do think, as you said, Donald Trump has a point here.
He definitely does have a point. And you know what? We can get into that during the interview because, believe it or not, Sharon, we are up against another break. Time flies when we're having fun. But John Forsythe's on the boards and keeping us on time. So I'm going to take us to break really quickly now. Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios. I'm Anna Little, and that other lady's voice is Sharon Angle, who needs to be in the U.S. Senate, and we're broadcasting from WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Sharon and I will be right back after this break with our first guest.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delps playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Sharon Angle today as co-hosts. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com. Or mornings you can log in at 9 a.m. to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com. You can also listen to us now on Conservative Commandos radio show from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Anna, we have our first guest ready. She's here, and it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Gabby Marangillo. She is the political reporter for the Washington Examiner, and she previously worked as a reporter for the Campus Reform. Gabby, welcome to Conservative Commando's radio show.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, Gabby, and we're really interested in what you're going to talk to us about today. You've written an article, Trump narrows the VP search to 4 or 5 possibilities. Well, we're hanging on. Talk to us a little bit about who those possibilities are and what he told Bloomberg Politics.
Well, you're right. He has narrowed his search down significantly from all of the Republican lawmakers that were previously being mentioned as potential running mates. He's now saying that he has about 4 or 5 individuals in mind, all of whom have political experience, because he wants somebody who has a resume that differs from his own. And 2 of those individuals happen to have military experience as well, which is interesting because, Donald Trump has really talked heavily about national security and made some of the issues that America faces today in terms of foreign affairs a core part of his campaign and of his message. So to have somebody as a running mate on the ticket with him who has military background, who has experience in the intelligence community, and that type of expertise would really benefit him as a candidate who doesn't have that expertise right now.
Does he feel that political experience is necessary or not so much?
Well, he's previously said in interviews that he's about 95% sure that he wants somebody who has spent time in Washington previously. He wants somebody who would be able to, get his agenda through Congress and work with lawmakers on Capitol Hill, and somebody who's particularly friendly with a lot of Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill. So, he said he's looking at some of his previous opponents. He hasn't mentioned any by name, but we do know that he said previously he was considering Marco Rubio, John Kasich. Ted Cruz is somebody that I don't think would be likely at this point, just given Cruz's own opposition to Donald Trump and the fact that he's not one of those lawmakers that, as Donald Trump mentioned, gets along with everybody in Washington. But he definitely is leaning towards, putting somebody on the ticket with him who has political experience, because it's certainly something he lacks, and I think something that would help assuage some of the concerns that you're seeing among Republicans who aren't yet fully on board the Trump train.
So let's talk about, he's got 3 criteria then: a little political experience, a little military experience, and what was that third thing that he said he thought was important? And I want to talk about how that narrows the field down, because he hasn't really said, but we can kind of think about what that might look like.
Right. Well, he's talked a lot about, or somebody whose name has been floated pretty frequently is Senator Jeff Sessions from Alabama. He has military experience. He was a former captain in the U.S. Army Reserve. He is well liked in Congress. I mean, he's not a figure like Ted Cruz, who's constantly has other lawmakers criticizing him and going after him. And he has political experience. He's spent years in the Senate, and he's been a steadfast supporter of Donald Trump. So Jeff Sessions is certainly somebody who we should keep an eye on. Another person who is no longer in Congress, but certainly has the political experience, is Newt Gingrich, and he's somebody who's been mentioned pretty frequently as well as a vice presidential contender. I think Donald Trump would certainly benefit from having Newt Gingrich on the ticket with him. He's got the experience. He was, Speaker of the House. He knows what it's like to deal with the divided Congress. But again, Newt Gingrich is very similar to Donald Trump in some ways that might create conflict if they were to be each other's running mates.
Well, when you mention these guys, I'm always thinking also that there needs to be a kind of a balance as far as philosophy of government. Has he talked about that? Because he's kind of been all over the board. Some people say he's not conservative enough. Others say, oh, he's too conservative. Is there that piece too, or has he even talked about philosophy of government, conservative versus liberal versus moderate?
Well, he's been asked before if he would ever consider running alongside a Democrat, and he ruled that out. People have asked him, would you ever choose Bernie Sanders as your running mate? He definitely would not do that, as he said. So, he is looking for somebody who is conservative and would bring those conservative credentials to the table that a lot of people have long questioned him about. I mean, it took Paul Ryan as long as it did to endorse Donald Trump because he, as you mentioned, recently has and continues to have concerns about Donald Trump's commitment to advancing a conservative agenda. And so he hasn't explicitly said, I'm looking for somebody who's perhaps more further to the right than I am, but it's something that his campaign is probably considering as they look for a vice presidential candidate.
It's kind of interesting to those of us who are conservative, and we feel that Paul Ryan is not conservative enough for our taste, that he's balking at Donald Trump's conservatism. I thought that was interesting that there was that place, and I'm wondering if it's really the conservatism that bothers him or just the outrageous remarks that Donald Trump, they're just his signature in politics. He likes to make people think about the issues and in a different way, in a very plain-spoken way. So do you think it's really the conservative issue, or is it more just the way that his style?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, there's obviously this entire controversy that occurred over Trump's criticism of the district court judge Gonzalo Curiel was something that brought to light the fact that Paul Ryan does take issue with the way that he's constantly insulting people and leveling attacks against his opponents and those who criticize him. But then also, I mean, it's not just his rhetoric, it's his policies as well. Paul Ryan has taken issue with Trump's proposal to bar Muslims from entering the country. He has said that his immigration proposals are not only would they, not only are they not financially, that they would be financially difficult for the country to take a look at, but that also it isn't something that he sees as feasible at this point. He's not only just criticizing Trump's delivery and his temperament, he's also exposing the issues that he and other Republicans have with his policies as well.
Gabby, we have to go to a short break for about 2 minutes. Can you stay through us to the break? Because I know my co-host, Anna Little, has some questions for you.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you so much. We will be taking a short break. We are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC, 36, our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AMFM247.com. We will be right back with Anna Little and Sharon Engel and our special guest today in this half hour, Gabby Marangillo, who's been talking to us about Trump's pick for
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Berrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, CCRS Network and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Well, Sharon Angle has been interviewing Gabby Marangello, and I have asked for the opportunity, Gabby, to jump in and ask you a few questions. Thank you so much for waiting through that break. We do appreciate your time.
Of course, yeah. Happy to be here.
Well, you know, we've got our presumptive nominee in Donald Trump, and of course he's going to need a vice president. So can you talk to us a little bit about how important it is to choose an appropriate vice president, not just for political reasons, but for the reason of good government?
Well, I mean, the obvious reason is that the vice president, in any case that the president couldn't fulfill his duties, would take over. And so you need to have somebody who has experience and understands the agenda that the president was previously carrying out, and, you know, is able to make quick decisions and appropriate decisions in times of conflict and when things happen quickly. So, you know, Donald Trump, I think that's why he really understands the importance of finding somebody with experience, whether it be political experience, military experience, somebody who has operated, you know, in government, who understands or has a decent understanding of government, who would be able to make those decisions quickly should Donald Trump, for any reason, not be able to.
And, you know, I guess Donald Trump correctly identifies himself as an experienced business person. So do you think it's likely he may seek to find a different type of experience in his vice presidential pick so that perhaps they complement each other rather than duplicating the expertise?
Yeah, that's exactly what his campaign has said and what he's said in various media appearances. I mean, he's not looking for another businessman on the ticket. He's explicitly said that it's not something that he's considering even at this point, that he really does want somebody, as you mentioned, who has a resume that complements his own, somebody who makes up for the areas in which Donald Trump may lack, whether that's his conservative credentials or his political experience. I mean, he, again, has repeatedly said throughout the course of his campaign that he's only been in politics for 10 months now. He's certainly been a voice in politics, and he's contributed to a variety of politicians for several years, but he himself hasn't ever run for elected office until this point. And so there's a lot of little things here and there that he might not understand that an experienced politician, somebody like Senator Jeff Sessions or Newt Gingrich or, a governor like John Kasich could bring to the table that would certainly benefit him as Commander-in-Chief.
Well, I think that the deliberative process that he seems to be using in order to select this vice presidential candidate might very well be good news for all of us and the people of the United States, because when he has to choose cabinet members, perhaps he'll use a similarly deliberative process and hopefully carry the goals and the values and the voice of we the people in mind as he makes those choices. But at this point, Gabby, I'm going to turn you back over to Sharon Engel, because this really was her interview. So Sharon, take it away.
Thank you. It's always great, Anna, to have you ask a few questions as well. In your article, there's this issue with Trump where he thinks he can do it himself, and I thought it was interesting what he had to say. That he, despite considering those two individuals with military experience, he says that he probably won't go with either of them because of the fact that, and this is his words, I think I'm going to do very well on national security. So even though he says that's what he wants, this is still kind of a moving target, isn't it?
Right. I know. It's interesting that he said that immediately after saying that he does have two individuals in mind who do bring military experience to the table. And it's also, it causes concerns for a lot of the Republican voters who the one issue in which they're really concerned about Donald Trump handling as president is our nation's foreign policy. I mean, you've heard it from Marco Rubio, who's expressed concerns about Donald Trump having access to nuclear codes. You've heard it from Paul Ryan and his concerns about Donald Trump's rhetoric on NATO. Their national security, foreign policy, those are really two issues that voters have a lot of concerns about with regards to Trump's candidacy and his rhetoric. And for him to say, I think I'm going to do very well on national security, whether I choose a running mate with that experience or not is interesting.
Well, and then he makes this bold statement when you ask him if he was considering any prominent individual from the business community, and he says, I don't need that type of ability. I have that ability better than they have. So, he's good on national security. He's good on business. Is there anything that Trump isn't good at?
Well, politics. He's certainly, in one way, he's done extremely well this campaign. I mean, he's at the top of the ticket. He's tapped into an anger that no other Republican candidate was able to really harness and turn into, support for them in their candidacies. But he's not a calculated politician in the sense that, Donald Trump says whatever's on his mind in that moment, and sometimes it backfires, as we saw with the latest controversy about the judge. So to have somebody on a ticket with you who is a bit more cautious and careful in what they say and their delivery to complement that side of Donald Trump, I think, is what he's really looking for.
Now, when we're looking at the vice president, does he really do that much for the ticket? Because, in some ways he's officiating at different with different heads of state. It seems like it's more some of the duties that we would expect, like from the Queen of England. That's the kind of thing that she does, goes around and just makes everybody feel good about being British. Is that what the Vice President really does? Just makes us feel good about being Americans? Or does the Vice President really have a job here to fulfill, or is it just a way to make Americans feel good about the ticket?
No, I think that a vice president under Donald Trump would certainly play an unusually active role in policymaking and deciding whether, helping him make decisions as president, simply because, again, he doesn't have political experience. He doesn't have experience in elected office, period. I mean, when you have President Obama at least had a term in the Senate under his belt before he ran for president. You had Mitt Romney, who was governor of Massachusetts. Previous presidents have all held elective office, with the exception of, one or two. But Donald Trump has no prior experience holding elected office. So in the country, in one way, it does certainly operate like a business, but in most ways, there's going to be a lot of daily decisions that he has to make that he's never had to make before. So I do think that having somebody with experience in politics, bringing somebody like that onto the ticket, they would play an active role on a day-to-day basis in a Trump administration.
Well, it's just interesting the way he looks at everything. Is I'll just get good counsel, good advisors. I'll put them on, where they can talk to me about these different things, and basically I'll make the decisions. Thank you very much. So it will be interesting to see who he chooses. Gabby, we're coming to the end of our interview here. We're running out of time, but I want everyone to be able to read your article and also to follow the other articles that you write.
Well, feel free to come to our website, WashingtonExaminer.com. All of our articles are there, mine and those of my colleagues. And I'm also on Twitter at GabriellaHope_.
Tell us the website one more time.
It's WashingtonExaminer.com.
Thank you, Gabby, so much for being on our show today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
And with that, we are coming upon a break. And if you would like to listen to Anna and I, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commando's Radio Network studios. And WNJC is our flagship station. They're live in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet. You can listen to us with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. We'll be right back.
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network and CCRShow.com. or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is with us, and the honor of the introduction is mine. John Zmirak is a graduate of Yale University who got his Ph.D. in English from Louisiana State University. And he's worked as press secretary to Louisiana Governor Mike Foster, and he's been an alternate delegate to the Republican National Convention. He's written or co-written 7 books, and the most recent is The Race to Save Our Century. He's senior editor at thestream.org, and we are honored to now have him on Conservative Commandos radio show. John, welcome to CCR Show.
Thank you. It's fun to be on.
Well, it's fun to have you. And, you know, I love this topic that you're going to talk to us about. I'm looking at the article from stream.org entitled, Trump has jumped the great white race shark, but what about Judge Curiel and La Raza? You know, Trump's got a valid point here, and I know he gets a little muddied when he talks about it, but there is zero attention in the mainstream media to Judge Curiel's affiliation with La Raza and La Raza's Marxist agenda. I mean, talk to us about this issue.
Sure. First of all, we have to acknowledge that what Trump actually said is unacceptable. I hope and I think he was speaking loosely and sloppily, as he often does, and that's a problem with having a candidate who's kind of undisciplined. You know, I mean, with Ted Cruz, you know that everything he says to his small children at home was probably tested on focus groups. And I love that about Ted Cruz. Donald Trump shoots from the hip. And sometimes when you shoot from the hip, you kind of hit a bystander. And what he actually said is something that merits criticism. He said, I'm not sure that he meant, but he said that Judge Curiel couldn't judge him objectively because he's a Mexican-American. Now, by that standard, we would think that Clarence Thomas couldn't judge a case on affirmative action. Clearly, I don't even think Donald Trump believes that. Or he wouldn't have teamed up with Ben Carson because he would have assumed Ben Carson was a left-wing Democrat because of his ethnic heritage. So I don't think Donald Trump really believes that. What Donald Trump was trying to say, and is a legitimate point that's unfortunately been obscured by his mistake with the avid enthusiasm of the leftist media, is that Judge Curiel has made decisions. He has made choices, free choices for which, as an adult, he must be responsible, that should make us question his ability to judge objectively in the Trump University case. And the two most salient points, and I'm not the first person to raise them, Ann Coulter's raised them, others have raised them. Judge Curiel belongs to a group called the La Raza Lawyers Association of San Diego, something like that. Now, the slogan La Raza, what is that? It sounds like the race, but people say, oh, no, it doesn't sound, it's not meant to be racist. But in fact, it is a racist concept. It refers to the race or the people. It's a concept from Mexican radical nationalism that refers to the supposed Latino race, the unique race that developed in Mexico. This is their theory, not mine, that is somehow superior to other races. Cesar Chavez, the great labor organizer who helped get justice for farm workers, most of them Latino, in California, he warned in 1968 that the concept La Raza is racist. He said it is anti-gringo. To use it is to engage in anti-gringo, that is anti-white, racist rhetoric. So he was trying to convince his farm workers not to use the term La Raza. Now, there is a national organization, the National Council of La Raza, which is undoubtedly a far left-wing pressure group. It wants open borders, absolute amnesty, massive affirmative action. Some of its members want to take back parts of the Southwest and annex them to Mexico. They call that the Reconquista. It is as radical an organization for Mexicans as the Ku Klux Klan or David Duke is for Caucasian Americans. Now, some of the people have said, well, the group to which Judge Curiel belongs, that calls itself La Raza, is not affiliated with the national La Raza. To which I would say, what if Donald Trump belonged to the white real estate developers Klan, spelled with a K, in New York City? if there were such a group. And then we confronted him with this, and he said, well, yes, it's an all-white business organization, but we have no ties to the Ku Klux Klan. We're not racist. Really? Why did you use the same name as an overtly racist organization? Nobody would believe him for 5 blinking seconds. So that alone should make us question Judge Curiel's ability to judge impartially a case with Donald Trump. But even that might not be enough. The organization to which Judge Curiel belongs, the La Raza Lawyers Association, is part of the Hispanic American Bar Association. That organization, 1 year ago, announced a national boycott against every business with which Donald Trump is associated, including businesses like Trump University. So Judge Curiel belongs to a left-wing, to a Mexican pressure group that is part of a boycott against Donald Trump. That sounds to me like the very definition of a conflict of interest.
Yeah, and it is necessary for all judges who find themselves in such a conflict of interest to recuse themselves from the cases so that these kinds of accusations and the doubt of their ability to judge the case. You know, I'm an attorney, and that's my part of my day job. You know, I'm always looking for where that appearance of impropriety might exist. You don't always have to be in a situation ethically as an attorney or even as a judge to sense that you need to pull yourself out of a case. You pull yourself out of a case when you think that something else about you is going to distract away from the benefit of your client. And in the case of a judge, there's obviously enough to discuss here for Judge Curiel to have recused himself so that the case could go forward on its merits and not have that doubt of whether Judge Curiel is capable of judging this case. And so I think it's very important for us to discuss this issue because the mainstream media just has no interest. I have not seen it covered by them. Am I wrong about that?
Right.
Have you seen it?
No, you're not. No, you're not. They're playing gotcha with this. And this is all happening against the background of open racism on the part of certain self-designated minority groups. For instance, there are just call them anti-white activists at Yale University, my alma mater, trying to get Chaucer removed from the required reading list for a freshman poetry class because he was a white male. And they say it's because he's a white male. They can explicitly target white males. And it's outrageous and it's provoking an angry white backlash that could actually go in an ugly racist direction. You know, affirmative action laws currently in America explicitly do not protect white males. They are the only group that has no protection. So if you have a job in New York City and somebody says, you know what, I don't like you because you're a white guy and I'm going to fire you, you have no legal recourse. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. And, you know, I think to divide us according to descriptions of our appearance or our heritage or our nationality actually dehumanizes each and every one of us. Because I don't know about you, sir, but I'm an individual. It doesn't matter who my parents were or who my grandparents were or who their grandparents were before them. I'm me. I've made my decisions. I've gone in my direction in life, and I deserve to be judged on that. What I don't deserve to be judged on is what somebody 4 generations ago in my family may or may not have decided. And that is what we are doing with these designations. It's wrong. It's anti-American. It's immoral, in my opinion. Why don't you comment on that?
And that's why it's a shame that Donald Trump misspoke the way he did. Because if he had just said what you and I just said, he would be golden, and he would be completely defensible, and the left would be on the defensive. But unfortunately, he stepped on a landmine, and I'm not sure what he's going to need to do next to fix this. But I think we need to put pressure on the media to cover the actual appearance of conflict of interest in the Trump University case, and we need to demand that the media condemn and denounce and criticize the aggressive anti-white, anti-American, anti-Christian prejudice that is gleefully and openly displayed through every level of academia and and the professions. I mean, you have people boycotting North Carolina because they don't agree with their bathroom bill. They won't do business in North Carolina because they don't agree with a view of sexuality. The same people want to put a baker in prison in Oregon or bankrupt him because he won't do a gay wedding cake. What's the difference? Why can Bruce Springsteen refuse to do business in North Carolina, but these bakers can't refuse to do business with a same-sex couple? The outrageous double standard of the left has abandoned any pretense of impartiality or justice. It is just radical tribal groupthink of the sort that tore apart countries like Yugoslavia.
And I think it's very important, too, John, for us to talk about exactly what that agenda is. Let's not have them put the message forward and let's not react to their messaging. Let's take a look at what their leftist agenda really is and the connections with Saul Alinsky, which are also never discussed. The Marxist-type approach to their agenda and accomplishing it. It's very important to discuss. And with that, I've got to take us to a quick 2-minute break. John, I hope you can hold on because we're not finished with you yet.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Anna Little. On the other line is Sharon Engel. We're speaking with John Zmirak, and we'll all be right back with you after the break.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know?
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Engel in Washington. Go to runsharonengel.com and help us draft Sharon Engel to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Anna Little. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, or at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., you can log on to highplains.dailynews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Well, Anna has been interviewing our guest, John Smirak, who's a graduate of Yale University and who got his Ph.D. in English from Louisiana State University. But he's written and co-written 7 books, the most recent, The Race to Save Our Country, and he's the senior editor at thestream.org. And John, you were talking about an article, Trump has jumped the great white race shark, but what about Judge Curiel and La Raza? And you and Anna were discussing how there is a truly double standard, if you will, in this country. It's anybody but white these days. And I want to know, does that affect you? Smirak sounds like possibly a Russian name. I don't know what your ethnicity is.
I'm Croatian.
I was wondering how you've been affected.
Well, I'm Croatian and Irish, so I came from 2 groups of people who arrived in this country with not much. My mother was actually one of 11 children in the Depression, and only 5 of them lived past age 3 because of disease and hunger. So I find it kind of rich that I'm accused of being part of some privileged class when my mother was actually malnourished. But I don't want us to play these games. We need a race-neutral society, and that means you don't get to play identity politics, period, whatever group you belong to. And we need to make it disgraceful for people to organize politically around asserting racial and ethnic group interests. Religions are different. Being of a certain religion means you think certain things are true, objectively true about the world. You chose that religion, you can leave that religion. That's completely separate and apart from ethnicity. If people want to have heritage organizations, that's fine. But to try to seek political privilege based on your ethnicity, that's the road that that was the Jim Crow road that whites did in the South. And it's no better when La Raza does it in Los Angeles and marches around waving Mexican flags and burning American flags. No wonder so many people have rallied behind Donald Trump, who was not my first choice for Republican nominee. I campaigned hard for Ted Cruz, but I think right now most of the attacks on Donald Trump, especially from the left, are illegitimate and would be equally thrown at a candidate like Ted Cruz or even Marco Rubio. The left's hatred of America, of American freedom, of American religion, of American capitalism, it's deep-seated, it's powerful, it's visceral. We're dealing with ideologues, much the kind of ideologues we saw took over American campuses in the 60s, attempted a revolution in France, took over in 1968, took over Venezuela under Hugo Chavez. These are the same kind of people who have the same kind of leftist vision of the world, which is imposed equality at the hands of the state, where most of the wealth is in the control of the state, and everybody gets their rations, everybody lines up at the government office to get their coupons, and the elites running society, the Hillary Clintons, are immune to the rule of law.
I think you raised an interesting point, too, that these leftists, in their agenda, they actually mark off their roster, if you will, those people who don't agree with their agenda as not being the right kind of people. I was at a Cinco de Mayo a celebration, and one of the ladies was showing me the ropes on how to interface there with the culture, and she said that we really needed to get a Hispanic president. And I said, well, you have Ted Cruz, he's running. And she says, oh, he's not Hispanic. And I thought,
that's right.
Really? I think he identifies there. I'm wondering why you would feel that way. And she quickly told me that he just wasn't one of them. And so it really is even more insidious than, they're trying to make race an issue because it sounds better than this is my agenda, I think. Do you find that to be true as well, John?
Oh, yeah. I had a female friend when I was in English graduate school who had a female feminist professor tell her, you're not a real woman. She was not a real woman because she opposed abortion. So apparently having certain body parts has nothing to do with whether you're a man or woman. But guess what? That's what the transgender activists are telling us anyway. They are radically unhinged from reality. Ted Cruz is not a Hispanic. Sarah Palin's not a woman.
And I'm sure that Alan West is not black. So
that's right. I've heard them say Clarence Thomas is not.
Clarence Thomas.
They've tried to decertify him. Yeah. So, and the funny thing is,
just amazing.
If these things have nothing to do with biology, if being black means being a left-wing Democrat and has nothing to do with your skin color, if being a woman has nothing to do with your uterus, but it's purely something political, then it would be legitimate to discriminate. If by saying woman you mean feminist, if by saying black person you mean left-wing Democrat, if by saying Hispanic you mean a member of La Raza, it would be perfectly legitimate to discriminate against people who hold those views. Then once you start to do that, then they say, oh, you're attacking me because of my heritage. No, you defined the heritage to coincide exactly with a particular political viewpoint. Then when I reject that political viewpoint, you accuse me of hating you because you're Hispanic. No, I hate everything else about you. I'm neutral about your ethnic heritage. I hate everything you say, everything you think, everything you want to do. I hate you for you. Please, take it personally. It's not about race. It's about you as a person. You suck.
And with that, we have to end the interview. I'm so sorry, John. This has been fun. I just have to comment and say that whenever I fill out my ethnicity form on my, because everyone asks now, I always put other. I figure you figure it out because I can't. But I'm so mixed up as an American. I don't have an ethnicity.
Let me suggest you write it. You should start writing in reptilian shapeshifter.
Well, we've got to go, but I'd like to have you tell us how we can follow you, how we can read more articles by you, and just get to hear more of your thought processes.
Go to stream.org, and I am Jay Zmirak on Twitter. That's JZMIRAK. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John Zmirak, for being our guest today here on Conservative Commando's radio show. We're coming to you live from the Radio Network studios here at Conservative Commandos, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. Anna Little and I will be right back after this break with David Greenfield, our next guest.
I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delps playing the music on the Your Music Matters Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and CCRShow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com. Or at 1 p.m., RoarRadio.net. And at 9 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. I'm on the line right now with my co-host Sharon Angle. Sharon, it's so great to have this time with you on Conservative Commandos radio show, and I'm glad you're able to take the time out of your very busy schedule, given you're 4 days out from election. We were talking a little earlier in the show about this transgender bathroom stuff, and we've been talking about how, you know, we all have a creator, and he kind of made that gender choice for us, and I was lamenting that the far left really wants children who probably are really not too sure about how the world works yet, and they're being asked to choose a gender, and that's a pretty big question for anybody, let alone a child. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about the decision of this CEO at the Target stores, and I guess they had a shareholders meeting where this issue was being discussed kind of feverishly. I'm making reference, Sharon, to an article that I'm seeing online. It's published in WND, WND.com, and it's entitled Target Shareholders Confront CEO on the Transgender Bathrooms. It seems like this CEO may very well have tried to make a political statement, but he didn't necessarily have the support of his shareholders before he did so, and he's been asked to explain his decision, and I guess they haven't gotten satisfactory answers. The shareholders, that is, have not gotten satisfactory answers from this CEO, and apparently there are an awful lot of people who have been offended by the decision with Target, and the backlash against Target is what the shareholders are concerned about. So I thought this would be right in the midst of that discussion that we were having earlier in the show, and given that you're dealing with this issue in Nevada and during your election, I thought you might want to comment a little bit about what's going on there between the CEO and the shareholders at Target.
Well, it's an interesting thing that most businesses don't really understand until they become the target of it, and that pun was intended. It's interesting. I remember in the early 80s, we boycotted Kmart because of their stance on Planned Parenthood. They were aggressively going in and funding Planned Parenthood and different groups that were not for life. And the Christian community just said, fine, we'll just do business elsewhere. And they did. And when that business leaves, it doesn't come back, Anna. And I think that Kmart figured that out, especially, you know, when that business is competitive with someone like Walmart. And I know most of our Kmart stores here in Reno have closed, and a lot of it is still repercussions from a boycott that happened in the 80s, even though they rescinded their action and said, no, we're sorry, we shouldn't have gone that far. It was too late. Once people have changed their shopping habits, it's done. And that's really what's going on here. Target has made a business decision here that may ultimately be very costly to them. It's already starting to be costly. And what they've done is they've offended the values of a majority of Americans in favor of a very small minority. And it's one of those things where they've said it's a slap in the face to millions of pro-family customers, and we'll just take our business elsewhere. And we saw it with Chick-fil-A. We've seen it with all kinds of different places where we as consumers can make a choice that really does have an impact on the direction that some of these businesses are taking.
Well, you know, I think it's important, too, for businesses to realize that when they jump into that political arena, they are narrowing the population that they're choosing to serve by identifying with that political opinion. I mean, Starbucks has done it. They've come out on political issues, and it does alienate people who would patronize the business otherwise, who don't share that political view. And I can remember when Hollywood started this, and some of those who would, I live close to New York, Sharon, so those that would be out on Broadway shows would start to become engaged in activism at the curtain call of some of these theater shows, which alienated those who didn't agree with the cause. And they were political causes. They were not necessarily general causes that everyone would agree with. So, when you choose to espouse that opinion in your business, what you're doing is narrowing your market rather than what businesses ordinarily do, which is try to broaden your market. We're not supposed to be, when we're in business, offending the sensibilities of potential patrons. We're supposed to be neutral so that we can go ahead and serve everyone. And apparently, the CEO of Target did not believe that that was necessary. He thought it was okay for him to narrow his market. And I guess his shareholders, who stand to lose the money on this, since the CEO, I suppose, must be salaried, the shareholders don't agree. They don't want to narrow their market. And here we are in the United States of America, Sharon, where we're supposed to respect the views, the differing views of every individual. Yes, we're supposed to be free to voice those views, but we're supposed to do so respecting the views of the other person. And of course, we use our election process and the voting of our elected representatives in the making of laws and decisions so that we have a majority rule where it comes to these decisions where we differ in opinion. And that is not the civility that I see going on by the proponents of this leftist agenda. And I was talking about this a little bit, and I think John Zmirak did a very good job of outlining that it's a kind of a socialist Marxist Saul Alinsky type agenda, approach rather, to pushing the leftist agenda. That's anything but civil, right? So I think we're losing a little bit of ourselves in all of this. Go ahead.
Well, I was just looking, when we have different outlets that we can look at. Of course, you went to WND, and I am looking at Think Progress, which is, I think, on the other side. And their article says, in ironic ways, the Target boycott is backfiring for conservatives. And this is just such an interesting opening line or opening paragraph. It says, since conservatives launched a boycott on Target last month over the retail giant's inclusive policy for transgender customers and employees, they have successfully earned a lot of press for their efforts. Unfortunately, not much of that press has been good. In fact, opponents of transgender equality look as intolerant and paranoid as ever. Wow. How interesting that is. Their bias shows right in their first paragraph. They begin the name calling right away. Intolerant and paranoid. There is never a place for a difference of opinion without name calling, and they don't go to what has happened to Target's business. Down in the second paragraph, they call them Bible-thumping conservatives has been marching up and down the aisles and occupying its checkout area, shouting their unfiltered rejections at LGBT people. Wow, again. It reminds me of what's going on with the Trump protesters. It's not okay anymore to have the freedom of speech. If you go to a free assembly, you're liable to get accosted, assaulted, attacked, and the police are really doing nothing about it. I heard one report from the San Jose police saying they had undercover policemen there, but the undercover policemen didn't do anything because they were afraid for their own safety. So they didn't even reveal themselves as being a part of the group, and there were several attacks. So it's just interesting how we are now being not only marginalized and caricatured, but we're not even being protected anymore by the policemen that we're paying taxes to support.
Yeah,
and
that
becomes
rough.
a very frightening aspect of what's going on in our society right now.
Well, Sharon, time flies when we're having fun. I got to take us to a break real quick, but in 2 minutes we can come back and pick this up again, okay?
All right.
Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Anna Little. On the other line is Sharon Engel, and we'll be right back with you after this break.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, CCRS Network and CCRShow.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com. At 1 p.m., RoarRadio.net, and at 9 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Well, Sharon Angle, we've been talking about how the mainstream media bias is so evident in the reporting, and the name calling is right there. So I would like to talk again, or maybe continued, about what's been going on at these Trump rallies and the protesters outside that have been so very violent. Do you want to make some comments about that?
Well, I think that it's interesting that we're now seeing a twist to this. It's almost the way we feel as women when we've been assaulted. Rape case becomes the victim having to prove that they're not at fault, that somehow they didn't encourage this assault on them, that it becomes the onerous is on the victim. And we just saw a pretty high-profile case this last week where the perpetrator of that crime got off with 6 months. And the woman, her whole defense was knocked down because she was drinking. So it had to be her fault. And it's just interesting how this is now being transferred into our right to freedom of assembly and freedom of speech in these Donald Trump protests against his great meetings that he's having. Lots of crowds coming, but the protesters are actually accosting those that have come to hear him speak, and now we're seeing that same mentality. They're blaming the victim. Well, it's your fault, you were there, you egged them on, you whatever. It's just an interesting turn here. Not, that they're not doing anything criminal here, that the criminality is not the issue.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to know, just by a point of information, that the police may choose in a riot situation, and perhaps this arose to the level of a riot, and perhaps it didn't. I don't know. I wasn't there. But in a riot situation, the police may choose not to prosecute every assault or every offense that occurred. However, civilians can file their own complaints, and this is true in every municipal or city court across the nation. It's also true at the county level in criminal proceedings. A civilian can bring their own complaint against an individual, and the police do have to assist you in whatever way they can to try to identify the perpetrator. So you should make incident reports, even if the police refuse to prosecute. You should attempt to take those incident reports and turn them into complaints in municipal court. If you get yourself into a venue like the municipal court, you can't get away with what the news media is doing, what the mainstream media is doing in blaming the victim, because the law won't allow it. So it's worth considering. Now, identifying the perpetrator in a mob situation is not always an easy thing to do. But I think in the case of the young lady who was egged, she might very well be able to identify those individuals, and the police have had contact with them. So I would encourage her and others who were there on that day to go forward in municipal court, whether the police decide to prosecute or not, and follow through on that one. And don't let this matter be tried in the public media. And that's just one woman's opinion.
Well, now, she admitted to taunting the protesters. How does that fly with the law? So if you taunt someone and they egg you, is it justifiable? Is the egging justifiable?
No, it is not. Words are in one category. Physical behavior is in another. And, she did not ask for it. The law does not say that she asked for it. I don't think there's any state in the union that would have a law like that on the books. There is a law that protects individuals, anyone, against terroristic threats. But, responding, I think in the article, too, in CNN, we're talking about an article in CNN which is entitled, Egged Trump Supporter Admits to Taunting Protesters. That's the title of the article. But when you read the actual article, she says, yeah, maybe I egged them on, but I was just sticking up for myself. They started it with me. I stood up for myself like any other American would. So she's talking about having responded to an initial verbal assault by the perpetrator of this attack against her. And they have characterized it in the title of the article as if she started the whole thing, which she did not. That's not even true when you go to read the article. But beyond that, the words themselves do not warrant a physical response. The actual egging of an individual, that's assault. The fact that the egg actually hits the person, that's now battery. I think those are pretty general concepts, and they're probably in every single criminal code in all 50 states in the union. So if she wants to go forward, if she can identify that perpetrator, they ought to look out, because she can take him to court, and I think she should.
Well, and she says, thank God it wasn't bricks and rocks. And she's right.
Yeah. And injury is not required for assault and battery. But the reckless indifference to injury or to human life is enough as far as a mens rea or an intent. She doesn't have to actually be injured. They have to have taken the reckless act that could have injured. And, an egg in the eye, you can lose your eyesight. I mean, there's
Anna,
a risk there.
With that, we're out of time again. We got to run. We got to go. You want to take us on out?
I love to do that. Rick's got this saying that we've got to run, we've got to go, but we'll take care, God bless, and we'll see you next week on the radio.
That's right.